Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I am really excited to dig down into today's episode. Hey there, SLSers. I'm excited because it's the 1st of April. Not only does that mean that it's April Fool's Day, so I now have to think of pranks because, April Fools. It's not April Fools unless you do something, even though Sam isn't actually home. So I have no tricks that I'm currently able to play, but I'm going to think of something perhaps later today. So if you see me around the internet and you think, that doesn't look like something that Jess would normally do, it may be my April Fools. Equally, my April Fools may also be that I do nothing and I fool you all because you're all on the lookout for something exciting coming from me, and I'm like, there is nothing. Either way, it is the start of April. I'm so excited to be celebrating the start of Q2 with you guys as well. And today's episode is all about a quick review of Q1 because, like me, you may not have already done your Q1 review. And if you haven't, this episode is going to help you review how quarter one actually went for you and what you want and need to do next, but also what is going to be possible for you this quarter, and what you are going to really be focusing on. So one of the things that came up for me recently, I just launched something exciting very quietly. So behind the scenes, if you're on my email list, you'll have seen that I invited people to apply for a brand new program that I am starting called Evolve. It's a hybrid mastermind and has 2 tiers. And you have a tier for people who are currently not making 6 figures yet, to help them specifically get to 6 figures using the core principles of balance, thought ownership, sales, money making, and ultimately building that business that you actually want. And then we have tier 2, which is people who are already at 6 figures, who are looking to scale their revenue to 500k and beyond. And so for me, this is one of the things that I was focusing on in the final weeks of March, was going through these applications. And I had some incredible applications. We're still accepting applications, by the way. So if you are thinking, actually, hang on a minute, Jess, I have not heard about this and I would like to, make sure you head to smartleadersell.com/evolve. And you will be sent some really cool, super secret squirrel information about Evolve, and you will be invited to apply for the Evolve experience. If that's right for you, you can just head over smartleadersell.com/evolve. But when I was reading through all these applications, I was reminded of the research survey that I started at the beginning of this year, and all of the research that I've been putting together over the last year when looking at client results, who's done best, what's been most effective, why, when have things been most effective, what has been the difference for people in terms of their success levels. And one of the biggest things that I found was that the people who created clear, effective plans were way more successful than the people who didn't. And you might be thinking, well, this is nothing new, Jess, and it's not, right? I'm not reinventing the wheel with this one. But the thing that I see most often is that people are not creating those clear, effective plans. Instead, what they're saying is, okay, I'm at a point in my business where I'm maybe I've had my first 5k month. Okay, my goal for this year is to make £300,000. And that's not really a helpful plan. And it's not going to help you scale to that level any quicker. And so what I want to really make sure that we do today is that we look at your Q1 performance in an objective way. So if you're in the car, you might want to listen to this one later on. I want to sit there with a paper and a pen and be like, right, okay, Jess is going to make me do this. But I want to sit there and look at the performance of Q1 objectively. Perhaps start looking at reassessing those goals that you might have for the rest of the year, putting them into perspective. You might need to adjust them to be bigger. You might need to adjust them or adjust your performance for Q2, and really look at what is going to be possible for you to achieve in quarter two, because quarter two is a big quarter. And I think, you know, it's really important for us to remember that actually Q2, what happens just at the end of Q2 is that kids break up school, right? They leave and they go on holiday and they have a great time climbing trees, you know, going out with their friends, generally driving parents insane. I kind of think that's how I spent most of my summers. But that happens at the end of Q2. And so typically people worry about, you know, Q2, but they leave it so late. You know, they think, oh my goodness, you know, perhaps June isn't going to be my biggest sales month, and oh my goodness, but they don't start thinking about it until May, by which time there isn't really an awful lot you can do on the planning front. So, you know, we're going to be talking about some of that today, and making sure that you're front loading your revenue this quarter and that you're really setting yourself up for success. So when it comes to quarter two planning, we have to look at how did we do? And I always look at 3 areas of this. And if you have a Smart Leader Sale Planner, you will know what those 3 areas are. So brownie points to you, because you're going to know 30 seconds earlier than everybody else. But we look at revenue, we look at branding and visibility, and we look at learning and development. So let's walk through what that might look like for you and for your business in Q1. And I'm going to share some behind the scenes deets on what it looked like in my business, so that you can, you know, learn from my mistakes, learn from my wins, and take away some of those yourselves. So for me, in terms of revenue, Q1 was good. Year on year, we were down. Okay. And I want to be really clear on the reasons why that happened, because when we have to look at these things objectively, it's important to actually look at it and not go, oh my God, we were down by 10, 12K, but actually look at, well, why did that happen? And so for us, we were down on revenue by about £12,500 from last year. And the reason for that was twofold. One, I had an incredible team who have been beavering away behind the scenes, who've been setting up systems and processes. And that's actually taken a lot of time. And it's taken a lot of time that meant that I wasn't able to have some of the launches that I perhaps wanted. And it meant that I wasn't able to do some of the things live that I would normally be doing, because I really valued the importance of those systems and those processes and having them done. And having them done and looking at, you know, what we're going to be able to achieve as a result of that means that I can safely say that Q2, Q3, and Q4, we're going to be up on my revenue targets. And you know, my revenue targets for this year were incredibly ambitious, but I can already see the value of losing that 12.5K at the beginning of the year, because I know it's going to ramp up Qs 2, 3, and 4. So for me, I'm looking at it as a really positive investment, in the fact that yes, I may have lost out by, and for me, it feels like a small amount. I know that there are people out there who are like, if I had a 12.5K month, I'd be like over the moon. But for me, you know, to be 12.5 grand down year on year for Q1 is a relatively small percentage. So that's something I'm actually really happy about. And it means that I've made this valuable investment into my business, and that is going to pay off, you know, twofold in the coming quarters. So actually, you know, I'm feeling really good about that. And I would advise you to look at your revenue and look at where it actually is and what that is actually doing for you. So if you are on par with last year, look at what you sold. Did you sell as often? Were your products or services as well received this year? Did you raise your prices? Did something change? You know, did you make more revenue but perhaps have fewer clients? That happened to me not last year but the year before. In Q1, I made way more revenue, but I had way fewer clients because I wasn't, you know, I only launched one group program instead of launching a ton of them. And so for me, it actually, it even though I'd broken even effectively, or even had done the same amount of revenue year on year, I was like, this is phenomenal, because actually I've made more money and I've done less work. So start really looking objectively at your revenue. What has come in? What has gone out in terms of your expenses? You know, what have you actually generated in terms of profit? What does that look like for you? And start thinking about, especially if you are on the scale of, actually, I didn't make the revenue that I wanted to make this quarter, what could you have changed? What do you feel like looking back with objective hindsight as opposed to super self-critical? Oh my goodness, I need to beat myself up and, you know, I don't know, hit myself with a rope like that guy from Dan Brown's novel. As opposed to doing that, look at it objectively and think about, you know, with hindsight, what do I believe I could have done differently? Could I have launched at a different time? Did I need to do market research before I launched a new program? Was there something that I could have changed earlier? Did I actually end up selling at a time where I was really busy trying to work on my business and not be able to give something so much attention? How could I have sold differently? Did I actually need to just get out there and sell? So start looking at those things. Now, for me, I looked at my revenue, even though we were down, like I say, I was happy about that because I know where it's going to pay off later in the year. So for me, what I decided to do was go, okay, cool. I'm just going to make an extra 12.5K on top of Q2. That's fine. And that was my decision. And I felt really proud of that. I feel, happy about that. And I think it's more than reasonable to adjust my Q2 goal by making an extra 12,500. That's not going to be horrendous at all. So you then need to look at, okay, so if we've generated the revenue that we wanted or we haven't, how are we going to adjust, like I've just done, the goals for the rest of 2019? Because obviously if you have a specific revenue goal, if you're looking to make 100K in 2019, and in Q1, instead of making 20K as expected, you made 10, you're going to need to make that extra up. So you might do what I've done. You go, okay, well, next quarter, instead of making 20K, I'm going to make 30. Or you might look at it and go, well, it would be more reasonable for me to split that goal over the next 3 quarters rather than trying to do it in one hit. Doing it over the next 3 quarters, that's going to be more sustainable for me. So really think about how you want to build up that revenue. Now, the next thing is about branding and visibility. And this is a really interesting one for me. So what we found was that in Q4 of last year and Q1 of this year, we spent a lot of time testing. So if you have seen me, I have tried lots of things. I've tried all the things in Q4 of 2018 and Q1 of 2019. I've been tweeting for the first time in a while, even though I'm still not really like a Twitter fan. I mean, I'm going to be honest here, 180 characters or whatever it is to express my innermost thoughts, not happening. I'm just not that kind of person. Clearly, I have too much to say in life. So the whole tweeting thing, not really my jam. And that's okay, because I spent a lot of time working on it. I actually managed to, when I looked back at the figures, I doubled my Twitter following. Now, that's not as impressive as it sounds because I only had like 290 followers on Twitter before, but we have ended, Q1 on like 790. So that's a big increase for something that actually, we put a lot of energy into, but it did bring a result. It just wasn't the result that I wanted, so yes, we increased the brand and we increased the visibility on Twitter. What we also learned was that actually wasn't the perfect platform for me. So again, when you're looking at these numbers, if you're looking at, how many more people join my Facebook group, how many more people join my email list, also go that extra step further. What did that actually bring me? Did it bring me sales? Did I enjoy it? Did I like the platform? Did I have more interesting conversations on there? Did I build better relationships, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? So for me, we tried a lot of things. We tried Twitter, like I mentioned, and we grew the following on that. We almost tripled, which is great, but didn't enjoy the platform. And I'm just kind of not feeling it over there. So for Q2, one of the things that we'll be doing around branding and visibility is making sure that the podcast has a presence on Twitter so that people can tweet out episodes and tell us when they're enjoying something. But I'm not going to be proactive on there. I'm not going to start having like Twitter chats or Twitter hubs, which also, do people call those twubs? Because that's just like the best word, twub. Making my own day over here. So I'm not going to be proactive at all on Twitter. But when we looked at some of the other things that I'd spent time on and that we had spent time as a team collectively to build the brand and visibility, we'd also done some other things that have made a really big difference. So for example, being on other podcasts is something that made a big difference to me in Q1. I was on a few different podcasts. I did a few different interviews, and actually that made a big difference. People really resonated with those. They found that it was easier to build a relationship with me there. And so whilst they might not have produced a kind of, you know, within X amount of months, you know, 500 more people to follow me, you know, I don't know. I was going to say legally, and that really is not the word that I wanted. Publicly is the word that I was actually looking for. Even though I've not necessarily added a new, 500 people publicly to my social media profiles, these people have been far better at reaching out to me and connecting with me on a platform with a genuine reason. They're the people who have been sending me messages and saying, hey, I found you on so-and-so's podcast. I really liked the episode that you did. I thought that point about XYZ was really interesting. And if you are one of those people, by the way, thank you so much. I really, really like it when people tell me how they found me and, actually get in contact. It's really nice to get to know people. So for me, one of the biggest things in Q1 that really helped build brand, build my visibility was appearing on other podcasts and doing other pieces of interview work. Was really, really good fun for me and has built better relationships with people that perhaps I didn't know before. Okay, so start looking at your own business and look at where you are building or trying to build your own brand and visibility. And the trick here is to keep it as streamlined as possible, because when you try tons and tons of things, and don't get me wrong, from Q4 to Q1, to the end of Q1, in my business, we have experimented with a bunch of stuff, including Twitter, including Pinterest, including some stuff on LinkedIn, writing articles for different places, appearing on podcast episodes, being booked for speaking gigs. We've tried a bunch of things that you may not have seen on the surface because hopefully you're not part of like 1,000 different, 1,000 different places that I'm appearing. That would be annoying for you, but also you'd be spending so much of your time in 1,000 different places. You'd never get time to work on your own business. So, you might not have seen those things, but again, it's about really streamlining and making sure that you don't have to test everything. In my business, I'm really lucky. I have a team. We can test things because it's not just me sat there having to do all of the work all of the time. So when I was doing this as a solopreneur, I was looking at what can I reasonably achieve. So focus yourself in a couple of different areas. And if you're at the point where you're like, well, my branding hasn't really grown, my audience hasn't grown, I don't feel like I'm more visible, I haven't added that many more people to my email list, start looking at like, how many places have you been? Have you been spreading yourself too thinly? Have you been actively promoting your email list? Have you been asking people to take clear actions? Have you been putting yourself out there with clear, strong messaging? Or have you just been cookie cutter and, bland? And that's been why people aren't resonating enough to sign up. So start thinking about what you've been doing with your branding and visibility. And again, look at, how does that need to impact your branding and visibility goals for the rest of 2019? If you're somebody who really wanted 10,000 people on an email list by the end of the year, but you've only managed to get 250 on there in Q1, you're going to need to readjust that goal. You're going to need to look at what's really important. Is it the building of the list, or is it actually the conversion? I'm going to talk about conversion in a future episode. I've seen a lot of like myths around this recently, and I want to clear some of those up, but that's a whole episode in of itself. And then finally, you need to look at learning development. So learning development for me has been a big investment this quarter. And there are a couple of reasons behind that. One is that I was recommended to a mastermind group in Q4, and I decided that I wanted to work with that particular mastermind group. And in Q1, I decided to hire my incredible coach, Ali Brown. So I've been working one-to-one with Ali for the past 6-7 weeks, and it's been amazing. Also not cheap, okay? And learning and development costs have formulated a big part of my Q1 expenses, and they will continue to form a big part of my 2019 expenses. Now, I could choose to look at it and be like, oh, well, these are big expenses and they are not necessarily paying off yet. However, when I look at the the learning and development that I've had in the last 6 to 7 weeks, certainly since working with Ali on some of the things that we have cooking, again, that investment will pay off probably triple this year, and will take me well into next year, where obviously I will hope that she'll keep me on as a client. She'll be like, oh my God, Jess is such an action taker. I have to work with her again. That's if she's not sick of me sending her emails and being like, hey, I've done this thing, I've gone rogue. But seriously, you know, you need to look at your own learning development. And if you haven't been hitting your goals and you haven't been exceeding your own expectations, you need to look at, am I actually investing in my own learning development in the right areas? You know, I'm investing in the things that I need to be investing in to move forward. So if it's branding visibility that's down, well, can you invest in a social media manager that can help you ramp that up? Or do you need to invest time or money in somebody to create graphics for you so that you're actually going to go out there and put posts on social media? Or have you made investments that you're not using, right? I see this a lot, and I've been very guilty of this in the past. I've bought courses and I've just not done them, just not completed them, can't bothered. And I say that in an almost flippant way. I've resigned myself to the fact that I am probably never going to get some of those investments back. And that sucks. Like, that's a really sucky place to be. But it is my choice. I'm choosing not to prioritize those investments. And instead, I'm choosing to prioritize the investment that I've made with Ali and with other mastermind elements from this year that can keep me accountable to a higher level. And that can help me build my networks correctly, and also that can help me master my skills as a coach and take me to that next level so I can help my clients get better results. And that has become the priority for me. So these courses that I've invested in, I am not going to go back and I'm not going to necessarily go through them. You know, yes, I did once invest in a YouTube course. Did I ever complete it? No. Do I have a YouTube channel now? No. Am I going to feel bad about that? No, not really. I'm going to chalk it up to make better buying decisions in 2019. And that's what I've done. I've invested incredibly strategically, and I've made sure to invest at the level that I'm at. One of the things that I found last year was that I was buying these courses, and the reason I was completing them was not because the courses aren't good, not because the content isn't good, but actually because it lacked the level of accountability that I needed to move forward. And also because for me, I needed something that was not formulaic. And instead I kept trying to force myself into this hole. I was like, no, I'm a square peg. I'm going to fit into this round hole course. And guess what? It didn't work out. So if you have not achieved the goals that you wanted to achieve in Q1, or if you have achieved the goals that you wanted in Q1, start looking at how your learning and development has contributed to that. You know, have you bought a course and not used it? Have you joined a membership and not ever logged into the portal? Have you, you know, I have people in my membership who, you know, they get access to these amazing hot seats and Q&As, and people often say, oh, but, you know, I can't make it live and that sucks, but I'm going to leave a question anyway. And that's awesome, because even though they can't be there live, they're still using the resource. They're still making the most of the resources they have in that membership that week. So, you know, start looking at your learning development. What are you actually investing in? Is it at the right level for you? Is it actually catering to what you need? But also, and perhaps more importantly, are you actually using it? Are you doing the work? Are you showing up? Are you holding yourself accountable? And are you really honestly using it to the effect that you could be and should be? And the answer for me on the majority of things that I've only invested in 2 things in Q1. So outside of my team, right? So outside of my team, I've invested in 2 things, and they are both coaching in 2019. And out of one, I'm going to create incredible networks and meet great people. And out of the second, I've got super high level support and accountability to take me to a very different level in my business by the end of 2019. So actually, I feel like, yes, I've made these major investments, and yes, it was one of those really, my palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. I could continue the M&M rap, but I'm not going to. But it was one of those investments that genuinely made me feel uncomfortable, pushed me out of my comfort zone, and was a different investment level than I had made before. And that has paid off in numerous ways, even in a short time. And we see this time and again. You know, I've got people who are in my mastermind, and they're coming to the end of their first quarter in the mastermind. We have people who have increased their revenue by 800%, which is a lot, right? That is a lot. We have people who are now working in completely different markets and who are owning those and gaining clients and traction. We have people who are interviewing celebrities for phenomenal interview series. We have people who are taking over the corporate market and doing incredibly well. We have people who are playing around with new offers and changing things. So change doesn't have to be slow. And when you're looking at business investments into your own learning development and making you the very best coach, consultant, blogger, vlogger, service-based business owner, web designer, graphic designer, whatever that you can be, if you're investing at the right level for you, and you're holding yourself accountable, you know, and you're actually doing the work, you should be able to get results quickly. You should be able to be seeing those results coming quickly, and it should be eminently achievable for you. So make sure that you are looking at your learning development for Q2 and thinking about, what do you really want to learn in Q2? What's going to make you better at your, let's use the word job here, but let's look at what's going to make you a better technician for your role, what's going to make you a better coach, what's going to make you a better web designer, and then also what's going to make you a better business owner. Where do you feel like you have lacked knowledge or skills in Q1, and do you need to change those for Q2, or is it a Q3 or 4 job? Not everything that you perhaps wanted to do in Q1 and didn't achieve needs to be done in Q2, okay? And then we need to start thinking about, and this is the final point on this, is what is our core focus for Q2? And we've just touched on that slightly with the fact that not everything that doesn't get done in Q1, or not every idea that you have in Q1 needs to get done in Q2. For me, Q1 has been full of learning lessons. It's been full of actually understanding more about the systems that are in place in my business and how we can be streamlining them and making them more efficient. But that also came with learning lessons around how much time it actually takes other people to work and achieve, and how I can be best setting my team up for success. We've made big hiring changes. I have my awesome Chief Operations Officer, Liz, who came into work on our in the business in July, August last year, who has been phenomenal at putting together the operations projects and making sure that we've streamlined some incredible processes over the last 8 months. And she is now taking her business to new levels, and we are transitioning the rest of the team to take that over. Just an FYI, if you're running events, go talk to Liz. Like, seriously, she has put on some incredible events recently, and I'm very, very jealous. And you will see, I'm sure, in the future, an event there that I'm like, Liz will be doing all of the stuff for. So it's been a really interesting quarter for me. And my core focus this quarter really has been on the team, on that team growth, on making sure that everybody is set up to succeed, making sure that we could have this transition to try and make it as easy as possible, make sure that we could, give everybody what they needed for long-term success, make sure that there was continued professional development there. And actually, for me, one of the biggest flaws that I have is that I expect everybody to be able to work at the same pace that I do. And that's not possible. Some people like to think about things. They do things differently. They have different personalities. And so this quarter for me has been a lot about learning what the best fits are for me to have on my team, and how I can actually make it a win-win for everybody, be more understanding of the way that other people work, and have it be a mutually beneficial situation. So that's been great. And that was completely a core focus for me for Q1. Q2 for me is all about enjoying the streamlined sales process that I'm creating. It's all about teaching other people how they can work less, make more money in a genuine way. And so, you know, I've completely streamlined my business. You're going to see it over the next, 3 to 6 months. You won't see me selling tons of different things. Everything has been cataloged. Everything has been created and has been made its most effective. And now I kind of feel like Q2 for me is the season of not sitting back and doing nothing. I mean, although margaritas would be amazing. But Q2 for me is actually the harvest season. I've put in a lot of work over the last 5 years, and now I've streamlined, I've decided what is most effective for me, what really works best, and I'm going to be able to teach a super simple system to other people to help them make their businesses more effective so they can have their own harvest, right? So actually, my core focus this quarter is about revenue, because it always is, but also this idea of really taking my business to the next level in terms of thought leadership, in terms of owning that message, owning that space in the market, and really making sure that I'm demonstrating that I can provide those results for people. So for me, it's really about that revenue, it's about that client delivery, and it's just about enjoying the harvest of the hard work that I've put in over the last 5 years. It's also going to be about celebrating my business birthday, which happens in May. Yay! 5 years old. And I'm really excited about this. In the same year that my business will be 5, I will be 30. How did this happen? Clearly good planning. So there are lots and lots of exciting things to come. So you've got to start thinking about, what's your core focus? Is it revenue? And if it is revenue, stop doing or stop prioritizing other stuff that doesn't lead to revenue. Because one of the things that really frustrates me is when I see people are like, oh, Jess, my main goal is revenue, or my main goal is visibility, or my main goal is getting more press, or whatever. And then the whole quarter, you're like, okay, cool. What are you doing about that goal? And they're like, oh, well, I'm just kind of going to wait on it a bit because I've got all this other stuff, and I've got to do the business as usual stuff, and I've got to prioritize something else. And then they get to the end of the quarter and they go, I missed that and I don't know why. No, we do know why. It wasn't a priority. So, decide what your core focus is for Q2. If it's revenue, great. Every single day, what revenue activity are you going to do? If it's branding and visibility, great. Every single day, what branding and visibility activity are you going to do? If it's improving your business ownership skills, great. Every single day, what are you going to do that's going to help make you a better CEO? If it's building your business is the focus for you this quarter, if you're like, right, I want to build my business differently. Perhaps you don't like it. Perhaps you don't like it in its current form, or you resent it, or you're not making the money you want, or you're not achieving the marketing goals you want, or whatever that looks like. Then go and find something that means every day you are accountable to hitting that result. And that's really where we have to be for Q2, because I know that this year is going to be challenging for people, and I've said that right from the end of last year. 2019 is going to be challenging, but it doesn't have to be for people who are genuinely committed to their own success. And that does mean prioritizing it. It does mean making sure you've put everything in place to really make that happen for you. And so if you haven't, then at the end of the year, I don't want you to sit back and go, oh, well, had another year that I wasn't really jazzed about, just because you didn't make these things a priority. So here we are, super early in the year. This is your chance, yes, to kind of look at things and go, am I happy? Am I not? But also to see this as a massive opportunity. You still have 9 months of the year left. That's 9 months to be able to change things, to be able to really build the business that you want, and to achieve some incredible results. Have an awesome week. I will see you on Friday. We've got a fabulous guest this week, which I'm very, very excited about. I will see you then with an awesome episode. And if you've got anything you want to share from this episode, any key takeaways, make sure you head over to Instagram and you let me know. Let me know what your key takeaway was. Let me know what you're going to be doing in Q2, and we'll be on the journey together. I'll see you soon.